The nurses at St. Mary's Hospital thought it was just another quiet morning, until the automatic doors slid open and a drenched little puppy stumbled inside. He was shivering, exhausted, and dragging a small black bag clamped tightly in his jaws. At first, everyone froze, unsure if it was real. Then they saw it. The bag was soaked in blood. The puppy whimpered, his eyes wide with panic, as if begging for help. Dr. Emma Carter rushed forward, kneeling beside him. When she gently opened the bag, her breath caught. Inside was a baby's blanket, a hospital bracelet, and a crumpled note that read, "Please, save us." No one in that hospital could have imagined what the puppy was about to reveal next. It was a calm morning at St. Mary's Hospital, the kind of peaceful start doctors rarely got. Sunlight streamed through the glass doors. Nurses laughed softly near the reception. And Dr. Emma Carter was reviewing her patient charts when the automatic doors suddenly slid open. N01 entered at first. No one paid attention, until a soft whimper echoed across the quiet lobby. Heads turned. A small golden puppy, drenched from the rain, stood at the entrance dragging a small black bag with its teeth. The little dog's paws slipped on the polished floor as it pulled with all its strength, its eyes darting toward the doctors like it was begging for help. A few nurses gasped. One of them stepped forward cautiously, whispering, "Oh my God, where did it come from?" The puppy let out a desperate cry, dropping the bag and nudging it toward them with its nose. Doctor Emma rushed over, kneeling beside the trembling animal. Rainwater dripped from its fur as she gently reached for the soaked bag. "It's okay, sweetheart," she murmured. "You're safe now." But when her fingers brushed the black fabric, she froze. The material was sticky, stained with blood. The nurses exchanged frightened glances. Emma's pulse quickened. Whatever this puppy had carried into the hospital, it wasn't just a random find. It was a message, a plea for help, and it had just changed everything. Doctor Emma's hands trembled as she slowly unzipped the small black bag. The nurses gathered around, holding their breath. The smell of rain mixed with something metallic, blood. Inside, wrapped in a soaked piece of white cloth, lay a tiny baby's blanket, smeared with red. For a second, the entire lobby went silent. Emma's heart pounded. "Someone's hurt," she whispered. She carefully lifted the fabric, revealing a small hospital ID bracelet tangled in the folds. The name was half faded by water. Baby Noah. A nurse covered her mouth in shock. This baby was delivered here last week," she stammered, the bottom of the bag. Emma found a crumpled note, edges torn and bleeding ink. She unfolded it gently. The words were shaky but clear enough to send chills down her spine. "Please, save us." Her mind raced. The baby, the blood, the plea, it all pointed to something urgent, something terrifying. Emma turned to the staff. "Get security footage. Check the maternity records. Now." The puppy barked sharply, as if understanding her command. It nudged the bag again, whining softly. Emma looked down at him. Those brown eyes were pleading, desperate, intelligent. She whispered, "You brought this for a reason, didn't you?" And in that moment, she knew. This was only the beginning. Within minutes, the hospital lobby turned into a command center. Nurses typed frantically at computers while security officers reviewed footage from every entrance. But the mystery deepened. No one had seen any adult drop off the bag. The cameras only showed the tiny puppy pushing through the rain, dragging it alone all the way from the street. Doctor Emma stood in stunned silence. "This isn't possible," she muttered. "Someone must have sent him." The little dog sat by the bag, refusing to move, his tail curled tight and his body trembling. Every time someone tried to pick it up, he'd whine and tug it back toward himself, guarding it like it was sacred. A young nurse knelt beside Emma. "Doctor, what if there's someone still out there? Maybe the person who wrote that note." Her voice trailed off. The thought hung heavy in the air. Emma looked down at the dog again. "Show me," she said softly. "If you know where they are, show me." The puppy's ears perked. He barked once, then padded toward the glass doors, glancing back to make sure they followed. Emma exchanged a quick look with her team. "Grab raincoats," she said firmly. "If this little guy came through that storm carrying blood, someone out there needs us, right now." And without hesitation, she followed him into the rain. The cold rain pelted down in relentless sheets as Dr. Emma and two nurses hurried after the puppy. The little dog trotted ahead, tail low, glancing back every few seconds to make sure they were keeping up. Puddles splashed under their feet, thunder rolled in the distance, and the city streets were nearly deserted. "He's leading us somewhere," one nurse shouted over the storm. Emma nodded, clutching her flashlight. "Keep going." The puppy suddenly stopped at the edge of a narrow underpass, whining and pawing frantically at something. Emma's light swept across the ground and froze. There, half hidden under a broken umbrella, was a young woman, soaked, pale, and barely breathing. Her arm hung limply at her side, blood trickling down from a deep wound. "Oh my God," whispered Emma, dropping to her knees. The woman's lips moved faintly, forming a single word, "Baby." Emma's eyes filled with realization. "It's her," she breathed. "The mother." The puppy barked anxiously, circling her, nudging her hand as if urging her to wake up. Emma pressed 2 fingers to the woman's neck. A weak pulse, but fading fast. "We need to move now," she ordered. As the storm howled above, the little dog whined softly. Rainwater streaming down his face like tears. The hospital doors burst open as Dr. Emma and her team rushed the unconscious woman inside on a stretcher. "Trauma room 2 now," Emma shouted, her soaked coat clinging to her. Nurses scrambled, clearing the hallways as the gurney wheels screeched across the tiles. The little puppy followed, his paws slipping on the wet floor, whimpering as they vanished into the emergency room. Inside, Emma's voice was steady but urgent. "Severe blood loss, hypothermia, possible internal bleeding. Let's move." The room filled with the rhythmic sounds of monitors, oxygen masks, and shouted commands. Outside, through the small glass window, the puppy sat down, his eyes never leaving the woman. He pressed his paw to the glass, whining softly. A few nurses watching from the hallway felt their throats tighten. "He hasn't moved since they brought her in," one whispered. Minutes stretched like hours. Then suddenly, the monitors beeped erratically. Emma leaned over the patient, shouting, "Stay with me." Sweat mixed with rainwater on her face. The silence that followed was unbearable, until a faint, steady tone returned. Outside, the puppy tilted his head. His ears twitched, his tail moved slightly, as if he sensed hope. He lay down by the door, guarding her like a soldier waiting for his command to stand down. Morning sunlight spilled through the hospital windows, turning the rain-soaked streets into gold. The storm had finally passed. Inside room 204, the young woman lay awake, weak but alive. Beside her bed sat Dr. Emma, smiling softly. "You gave us quite a scare," she said gently. The woman's eyes filled with tears. "My baby, is he?" Emma nodded. "He's safe. He was brought here by someone very special." At that moment, the door creaked open. The little puppy trotted in, tail wagging timidly. The woman gasped, covering her mouth as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Charlie," she whispered. The puppy barked joyfully, jumping onto the bed and burying his face against her chest. Everyone in the room went silent. Nurses, doctors, even the janitor paused. Emma smiled. "He carried your baby's bag all the way through the storm. If not for him, you wouldn't be here." The woman clutched Charlie tightly, sobbing into his fur. "You saved us," she whispered. Outside the window, the sky turned clear and bright. Dr. Emma watched the reunion, her heart full. "Sometimes," she murmured to herself, "angels don't have wings, they have paws." And from that day on, the little dog who begged for help became a symbol of love that no storm could ever wash away.